Okay. YouTube class action lawsuit wants to identify every pirate uploader since 2015. Um, this is apparently something that's been going on for a while, but I hadn't heard anything about it until I saw this. Um, Grammy award winning. Of course, I haven't looked at Torrent Freak in I don't know how long. Um, Grammy award winning musician Maria Schneider wants a court to order YouTube to hand over huge amounts of data relating to copyright infringement on the platform. In summary, Schneider wants to identify all users who had a takedown notice filed against their account since 2015 to determine whether YouTube's repeat infringer policies come up to scratch. Last summer, Grammy Award-winning musician Maria Schneider, I've never heard of her. Of course, that doesn't mean anything. I don't keep up with shit like that. Filed a class action lawsuit against YouTube claiming massive deficiencies in its copyright enforcement measures. Schneider claims that YouTube restricts access to its takedown tools, profits from infringement, and fails to terminate repeat infringers, noting that 98% of YouTube copyright issues are resolved with Content ID. Schneider says that YouTube has entirely insulated huge numbers of users from its repeat infringer policies. I'm kind of new to uploading to YouTube, so I don't really, I don't really know a whole lot about that, but about this stuff. But it sure seems like, from what I've heard off and on from just listening to other YouTubers for a long time, is that it's really easy to run afoul of copyright, claims and shit. This two-tiered system essentially trains YouTube's billions of uploading users that there is essentially minimal risk to uploading to their heart's content, the complaint reads. As previously reported, Schneider was joined in the class action by a company called Pirate Monitor, which alleged that many of its copyrighted works appeared on YouTube in breach of copyright. YouTube, however, claims that the company itself uploaded those works before sending its own takedown notices. I don't doubt that for a second. There's a bunch of, that's one of my issues with the whole, the whole way that intellectual property laws work. There was something years ago that I read about how some porn company had partnered with a law firm to pirate their own pornos and put them out there on the internet, and then because they have, because it's porn, and because they have these really embarrassing sounding titles to them, they would then the law firm would then send out all of these notices. They'd get all these notices sent out to the people that have been caught sharing the porn, and they get a letter saying, basically it was an extortion racket. They were trying to get all of these people to settle out of court. They didn't want to take them to court. Because they'd have to, they'd have to, do the filing fees and all that stuff. So they wanted them settled out of court, and they were suggesting something like, I don't know, it was a shit ton of money. It was like $3,400 for every single person, and there were like hundreds of people that, that were caught sharing it. So, they all got this letter basically threatening to expose them as, as a as a masturbator, I guess. We'll expose to your friends and your family and your employer that you've been, jerking off. It's like, uh, it's so stupid. Anyway, I believe the courts finally really got tired of them, abusing the court system, and slapped them down for that. I don't remember exactly, in what way, but anyway, as previously reported, Schneider was, Pirate Monitor, uploaded So probably, that, like I said, that seems to be the name of the game for some of these, so-called anti-pirate outfits. Lawsuit claims that Content ID should not shield repeat infringers. Determined to show that YouTube's approach to copyright enforcement is lacking, Schneider's legal team is demanding that the video platform hands over information about infringement on the platform. This should include information about actions carried out under Content ID and following regular takedown notices. Both elements of this two-tiered system are relevant to the claims here, including because of their role in establishing whether defendants should be prohibited from taking advantage of safe harbors against copyright liability granted by the DMCA. A new filing from Schneider reads, those safe harbors are not available absent a policy that provides for the termination in appropriate circumstances of uploaders who are repeat infringers. The issue of how internet services deal with repeat infringers is a thorny one that can lead to huge damages awards, as illustrated by the $1 billion award in the RIAA's lawsuit against Cox Communications. Now, I don't remember if I knew. I don't remember what that's about, but that's probably not a good thing, though. Frankly, in my opinion, it's never a good thing when any of these media, industry asswipes sue somebody over something and they win. It's like, nah, they don't need to win ever, because if they're not in the wrong in that particular instance, they're in the wrong some other fucking time, So I'm anytime, as far as I'm concerned, it's like a shitty outfit like the the RIAA. It's like, don't ever want to see them win, no matter what the fuck it is. I don't care. Anyway, Schneider's lawsuit aims to show that YouTube is negligent too, since infringements dealt with under Content ID do not result in action against uploaders' accounts. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's all well and good to say that of people that are maliciously doing something, but if it's just, people like, like, oh, I didn't realize there was music or something in the fucking background, when I did the video, and it's like, and YouTube detected, it's like, okay, well, allowing you to just, edit it out or whatever, or upload a different, it's like, that's enough. You don't need to be like, oh yeah, let's, it's like, oh, well, your roommate was playing music in the background when you make a video, and that happened like 2 or 3 times, so you're a repeat infringer, so fuck you. It's like, that's not a good that's not a good thing to be happening. The whole I'm the abuse of of the laws meant to protect rights. It is just, it's sickening. Infringement caught by Content ID is excluded entirely. Defendants' failure to assess penalties, including copyright strikes and termination for these repeat infringers, 1, fails to satisfy the reasonableness required to track and terminate repeat infringers as required for the safe harbors. 2, encourages and incentivizes users to continue posting infringing content. And 3, creates the constructive, if not actual, knowledge of infringement that is an independent basis to deny access to the DMCA safe harbors, the filing rates. Fuck them as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, lawsuit demands massive access to YouTube infringement records. That's not a good thing. I'm not speaking for myself. I mean, like I said, I make sure that there's absolutely no fucking music or anything like that playing when I record this shit. I don't. Unfortunately, I don't have anybody in the next room playing anything. To show the scale of infringement on YouTube and YouTube's alleged failure to properly deal with repeat infringers, Schneider is demanding that YouTube hands over large amounts of data. Precisely how large remains to be seen, but describing the request as broad is likely to underestimate the request. In summary, Schneider initially asked YouTube to provide copies of every single takedown notice filed with the platform. That's got to be just unbelievably enormous. That request was rejected with YouTube instead agreeing to only hand over notices filed by the plaintiffs, claiming that beyond that would amount to a huge burden. No shit. Even if it had the information in a deliverable format. In what appears to be a counteroffer, Schneider narrowed her demands, but not by much. She now wants YouTube to identify every person that has filed a copyright takedown notice since January 1st, 2015. That information should include information such as dates, the works allegedly infringed, and the URL of the targeted content. Fuck you, bitch. Schneider also wants the details of every YouTube user targeted by these takedown notices, including their account names, email addresses, IP addresses used to upload the content targeted by the notices. No, fuck her. She does not have any any right to all that massive amount of information. Schneider further demanding little bitch, isn't she? I don't know anything about her. I have no idea. She could be old for all I know. A full accounting by YouTube detailing all steps taken to resolve every takedown notice, any evidence the platform holds on registrations of copyright works listed in notices, the outcome in every case, Jesus, and whether YouTube still holds copies of the works listed in notices. YouTube refuses to play ball. Oh, good on you, YouTube. YouTube appears to be less than impressed with Schneider's demands. Indeed, according to Friday's filing, the Google-owned platform is only prepared to hand over 1 month's worth of takedown notices. That's probably still a shit ton. But according to Schneider, that ignores the purpose and need of this discovery and thus is not a meaningful compromise. Indeed, in its responses to Schneider's request for information, YouTube describes the demands as overly broad, yeah, and unduly burdensome, definitely. Almost 36 times. Well, good. Sometimes you have to say it that many times for the judge to get it through his thick fucking head. I mean, I'm sorry. I've witnessed enough to know that not all judges, but plenty of them, they're not very bright. Whether the judge will agree with that position remains to be seen. Well, let's hope so. Let's hope that he or she understands some measure of reality. The discovery brief can be found here, PDF. So, you can. I'm not going to look at that, but if any of y'all want to, you can. You can also, I guess, try to get Nick Ricada to look at it. I don't know whether he'd be at all interested or not. Anyway, I'm kind of surprised that really probably YouTube is less concerned about, undermining the privacy of its users and whatnot, and more concerned about how fucking ridiculously huge the workload would be for them to try to comply with that. But regardless of why they're doing it, it's good that they're fighting this. So, let's give a rare round of applause to YouTube. It's so infrequently that any of the big tech platforms do anything even slightly good. Anyway, so there's that. That's something we should, hopefully Torrent Freak, that will keep an eye on that for us, and we can hope that there's a good outcome. Good for the users, not good for whoever that entitled bitch is. I like I said, I don't have a fucking clue what kind of music she even does. But I'm not that big of a music guy, I guess. So, I don't keep track of that shit. All right. Until the next one.